Welcome to Legal Nurse Podcast. I'm Pat Iyer, the host of this show. I started Legal Nurse Podcast in September of 2016 as a way to connect with legal nurse consultants, and that has been successful. We have listeners in over 105 countries around the world, and I'm excited to be able to bring you tips and knowledge about this specialized field. I would love to have your comments on the show, or compliments, or suggestions. Please go to podcast.legalnursebusiness.com and look for a red button on the homepage where you can leave a message for me and share your comments. In this series of podcasts coming up next, I will be spending some time focusing on a skilled role for legal nurse consultants, that is, of being an expert witness. Arlene Klepatsky, who is a nurse attorney, and I have put together a course called Expert Witness Mastery for Nurses. It is beginning in the first week of May and will run for 4 weeks in May on Tuesday nights, and Arlene and I will be teaching you the skills that help you expand an expert witness practice. We're going to be giving you 4 live sessions that will include opportunities for interaction and to gain a deeper understanding of how to be a successful expert witness. This course is based in part on a book that I released this spring 2024 called How to Be a Successful Nursing Expert Witness, 2nd edition. Be sure to go to the link below this video, which is lnc.tips/expert witness course. You will receive the tips that you need to feel comfortable in this role and expand your caseload. If you see this video after the course has run, we will have the recordings that you'll be able to watch at your convenience. Now let's get on to the show. Welcome to Legal Nurse Podcast. I'm Pat Iyer, the host of your show. This is now the 8th year that I have been sharing information with you on Legal Nurse Podcast, and it is a delight to be able to give you some tips on a weekly basis, have you meet a variety of well-qualified people as guests, and to develop that sense of assurance that there's somebody who's got your back. Today is a solo episode. I'm going to share with you tips specifically related to getting paid as an expert witness. These also apply if you are behind the scenes consulting. The first is to consider when to invoice. Some legal nurse consultants have asked me over the years, do I wait until the case is over to send my invoice? No, please don't do that. Send your invoice when you have concluded a portion of your work. In other words, when the attorney says to you, please review these records and let me know what you think. You do that, you've gotten a retainer, you subtract the hours from the retainer. If you've gone beyond the retainer, you're invoicing for those overage hours. Better yet, you get a replenishing retainer, where when that retainer is almost over, you get another one. So you are minimizing the amount of possibility that you're going to be over the number of hours that you've been paid for. Then the attorney says to you, all right, I'd like you to write a report. That's another opportunity to invoice. Now you're getting ready for a deposition. If you're an expert witness, you've got prep time, travel time, time at the deposition, travel time back, or if it's done on Zoom, no travel time. That's another invoicing opportunity in phases. In other words, you're going to be invoicing in phases. You can also use your leverage to get paid. If you have a large amount of money, and hopefully you won't, that the attorney owes you, you can not do something for the attorney until you get paid. If the attorney says, I'd like you to submit your report, you can say, I would love to. I have an outstanding invoice that needs to be taken care of first. I'd like to schedule you for a deposition. I would love to give you some time, but I have an outstanding invoice that needs to be paid first. That's using your leverage. Attorneys will, when given that kind of message, work hard to make sure that your invoice is paid because they've got court-ordered deadlines and they need to stay in the good graces of the court system. I would recommend that you not allow many years to go by without raising your rates. Cost of living goes up, your expenses go up, your experience goes up. You deserve to be compensated at a higher rate. Consider raising your rate every 1 to 2 years. And if you stay on top of this, you're most likely going to be invoicing in small amounts at a higher rate. In other words, you might go up, say, $25 per hour every year or 2 years. Perhaps you're going to come up with a different number of dollars per hour to increase your rates. But if you wait 5 years, for example, and then try to make up for 5 years of not increasing your rates, you might have a big jump in your rates, which is going to be less acceptable to your clients. Let them know in advance that you are increasing your rate. Give them a date. As of X date, my new rate will be X. Don't be surprised if your clients work on you to say, oh, could you just review this before the new rate goes into effect? And you might get a bunch of cases coming to you to be reviewed before the new deadline of the rate increase. You can raise your rates at any time during the year. You don't have to wait until January 1st. You could make it April 15th. You could make it July 17th, whatever you want. There's no set rule. And be sure you're charging a reasonable rate for your education, for the services that you're providing, and for the role that you are fulfilling. Your geographic area also influences the rate that you should be charging. I cannot sit here on this podcast and say, you ought to be charging X number of dollars per hour. It's highly variable. Make sure that you are not undercharging, which makes you look inexperienced and out of touch, or overcharging, which makes you look inexperienced and out of touch with rates and discourages people from hiring you. You can avoid collection issues with your invoices. This is my last tip, by making sure that you're delivering a quality work product. You're listening to what your client wants. You're clear about your areas of expertise, what you can help with, what you can't help with. You're not taking on cases personally that you don't feel well equipped to manage. Look around your community, network with other legal nurse consultants. Take on the cases that you are comfortable with and subcontract out the cases that you personally don't feel like you have enough knowledge, or you'd have to learn a whole new area of nursing in order to be effective in offering guidance. There are colleagues around you who already have that level of knowledge. And when you bring them onto your team, you strengthen your capabilities. When you listen to your clients, when you're delivering them a quality product, when you are responsive and you return phone calls and emails and meet deadlines, attorneys appreciate it. That's it for today. Thank you for being part of this show and listening. Be sure to go to podcast.legalnursebusiness.com. We have some new podcast bundles that you can download at no charge. They are groups of our most listened to podcasts for the previous year, and you'll have an opportunity to get some concentrated knowledge on topics of interest to you. I'll see you in the next podcast. Up next, you're going to have an opportunity to hear me chat with Arlene Klepatsky, who is a nurse attorney, an experienced nurse, an experienced attorney, and an experienced legal nurse consultant, as we delve into some of the frequently asked questions that come up about being an expert witness. Arlene, tell our viewer what are some of the key points and questions that we dealt with during this podcast.
Okay, Pat, I'm happy to do that. We talked about Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 26, which outlines what kind of report you must give to an attorney, especially in federal cases, but sometimes in the state as well. We talked about maintaining a list of cases for that report. We talked about what happens when you need more records. They may not be available if the case hasn't been filed yet. You may have some medical records, but after the case, after subpoena power is available, you'll get more. We talked about what happens if you haven't heard from the attorney in a while. You want to maintain contact with the attorney to find out what's happening with the case. We talked about when we can withdraw and the circumstances under which it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate to withdraw from a case, and what those financial implications are if you do withdraw. We talked about conflicts of interest. We talked about what to do with the records after you finish with the case.
You can tell we covered a lot of territory in this podcast, and I encourage you to click on down below or come back next week when you will have an opportunity to learn more about the frequently asked questions for being a nursing expert witness and gain the knowledge that Arlene Klepatsky shares in this podcast. I'll see you then.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you for watching this episode of Legal Nurse Podcast. Be sure to go to the link below this video, which is lnc.tips/expert witness course. You'll get the information that you need to sign up for our live expert witness course taking place during the month of May 2024, every week for 4 weeks in the evening in Eastern Time, to get the skills, the knowledge, the support that you need to expand your practice as a nursing expert witness. I would love to see you in the course.